Good afternoon. I'm Ken Kirschenbaum. I'm hosting today's webinar. It's part of our Central Station 2020 webinar series. And the purpose of the series is to give you a sampling of the best of the Central Stations that are out there, those that are reputable and those that you should be considering giving your business to. Today, we have Dispatch Center. The Central Station itself is located in San Antonio, and Kelly Ryan is the VP of Sales and Marketing. This is a regional Central Station as opposed to a full nationwide, and Kelly's going to get into that and explain exactly what they do. If you have questions, please put them, use your, I guess, whatever it's called, to click in and give me the question, and we'll save them till the end. And Kelly has about a 10-15 minute presentation, and he's going to get started right now. Kelly, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Let me get the screen going here. And are you able to see the introductory slide?
Good. Yes, you're good.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, thanks to everyone who's attending, and thank you to the wonderful folks over at Kirschenbaum and the Alarm Exchange for hosting us. My name is Kelly Ryan, and I'm with Dispatch Center. My contact information is on the screen, along with the contact info for the awesome duo of Stacy Lindell in Dealer Services and Stephen Harper, Dispatch Center President. Just a quick story. I began my career as a very green installer in February of 1991. I was fortunate to have contact with a Central Station employee named Bill Parsley. Bill was very easy to work with, and he did a lot of over-the-phone training with me, to the point that I actually give him credit for me remaining in the alarm business. Bill Parsley, who unfortunately passed away a few years back, moved over to Dispatch Center after it was formed, where he eventually retired. But before he did, he trained Stacy Lindell as his replacement, giving her the encouragement to promote dealer success through patience and dealer education. I receive a lot of phone calls about how wonderful Stacy is from our dealers. I'm very glad to have her on board. I guess since I told the story about Stacy, I shouldn't leave Stephen out. Stephen's father was actually one of the founding partners with Dispatch Center, and I often joke that he basically grew up at the Central Station. But there isn't a position or procedure that Stephen doesn't know, and his experience and personality has made him a fantastic leader for the company. They're awesome folks to work for, and I'm proud to be part of the Dispatch Center team. Dispatch Center was founded in 1996 in San Antonio, Texas, by a group of local dealers that wanted better options for monitoring their accounts. Their primary focus has always been creating the right environment for our employees to provide the best customer service to dealers and subscribers. Dispatch Center is not a large mega Central Station. Our primary clients are small to medium independent dealers that also focus on relationships and not just numbers. The flexibility of Dispatch Center helps to provide our dealers with the tools needed to give their subscribers the service they deserve. We have had many custom projects throughout the past, and we're happy to work with our dealers to find just the right solution for a custom monitoring request. We take pride in having a low turnover of employees. Our average tenure for operators is just under 6.5 years. So we understand and embrace the power behind keeping good employees. Dispatch Center also knows the value of being involved in industry associations. Our management team has had 2 past presidents of the Texas Burglar and Fire Alarm Association, as well as the current president of the South Texas Alarm Association. We are also heavily involved with legislative action that could affect the well-being of our clients. Dispatch Center has a focus on reducing false alarms. Keeping false alarms down promotes customer service and helps keep the alarm industry in good standing with public safety officials. Aside from being involved in the False Alarm Reduction Association, we train our operators to be vigilant in verifying alarms, and we assign 2 operators to every fire signal, one for communication to the fire department and one to simultaneously attempt alarm verification. We are proud of our affiliations, including the Alarm Exchange, TMA, UL, NISA, FARA, TBFAA, and local Texas chapters. While Dispatch Center has always been Texas-centric, we are available in many other states. The states shown in blue represent the areas where we can provide monitoring service. Since we were founded by dealers, our primary goal has been providing the best service to the independent dealer and not necessarily national expansion. While security monitoring is available throughout the state of New York, we currently do not provide fire monitoring within New York City. The San Antonio area is an excellent choice for a monitoring station. Texas does have a reputation for some rather dramatic weather, but San Antonio is typically south of most tornadic activity, and it is inland far enough to not be a target of hurricanes or tropical storms. And while there are areas of San Antonio that are known to flood, our UL facility is not located in a discernible floodplain. Our facility meets and exceeds the requirements set forth by UL 827 and UL 1981 by having hot redundant systems for immediate backup and 2 redundant generators on site. We also participate in a disaster recovery plan with SIMS, our automation provider. As with UL and manufacturer requirements, our receivers and servers are fully redundant and tested. Also, all telephone conversations in the central office are recorded. Dispatch Center proudly offers a wide selection of monitoring services. From burglar and fire alarms to areas of rescue and environmental alerts, Dispatch Center has monitoring abilities independent dealers need. To help reduce false alarms, we also feature video verification as well as enhanced call verification for burglar alarms. In addition to alarm monitoring, we offer cloud storage for our dealers that want their data, such as video or system backup, secured inside our UL facility. A bonus to using our cloud storage is the ease of contacting us if technical assistance is needed. In-house video guard tours are available, along with services such as checked video and VideoFide. Custom answering is also available to our dealers. A great feature of Dispatch Center and SIMS is accessing your accounts via PC through SIMS Web or mobile app through SIMS Pocket. Depending upon assigned security levels, SIMS Web gives a user full editing access into their accounts, as well as the ability to place systems on test and generate reports. Once you equip your technicians with the SIMS Pocket app for Apple or Android, they'll certainly appreciate the power and access at their fingertips. When accessing via SIMS Pocket app, you can easily search for accounts by name, address, phone, account number, or even partial information. From there, the account can be placed on test, reviewed, and depending upon level of access, a technician can even edit account information. The mobile app also features the ability to generate reports and send reports directly to a recipient, such as a fire marshal, after a walkthrough. Dispatch Center is pleased to accept IP and cellular service from multiple third-party providers. Shown here are some of the more popular providers that our dealers are using. Depending upon the provider, some services are billed through Dispatch Center and others are billed dealer direct. If you are interested in using a service not shown on the slide, contact us and we'll be glad to look into providing that service for you. We highly encourage our dealers to own the communication paths going into any central station they use. There's an old saying that while we may not intend to change, one day all of us will either walk out or be wheeled out. Dispatch Center promotes the ability for a dealer to grow and not be handcuffed to their central station. This not only helps when a business is sold, but it can help increase the value of the business as less effort is needed to move accounts. We also do not require a dealer to make us their exclusive central station. Internally, Dispatch Center uses border gate protocol as a backup to guard against needed, expected or unexpected, IP address changes. In the same way we want dealers to own their phone lines going into the central station, we highly encourage our dealers to utilize a service such as Keep Your IP on any IP direct systems going into our facility. While the majority of IP signals coming into our central are provided through a third-party service, IP direct signals are becoming more common, and we want our dealers to have the flexibility to easily move those accounts if necessary. Dispatch Center pays all outbound, domestic, long-distance charges to dealers, subscribers, responders, and responding agencies. Dealers may request their own toll-free numbers pointed to receivers and/or voice lines. All costs associated with phone numbers assigned by Dispatch Center will be forwarded on the dealer's monthly invoice for the charges associated with their numbers. Dispatch Center does not upcharge phone service. Dealers in good standing with Dispatch Center may assume ownership of their numbers at any time by sending their request in writing. Dispatch Center is a wholesale-only station. We do not buy accounts, and we do not solicit business directly with end users. We do require our dealers to list us as a certificate holder on their insurance. While we recommend a dealer list us as an additional insured, it is not a requirement. Dispatch Center has a 5-account minimum that goes into effect 90 days after a dealer onboards with us. This is to give new dealers adequate time to build their account base. Billing is performed monthly. Summary and detailed billing are provided. We strive to keep billing as simple and transparent as possible. We've seen too many central station bills that are overly complicated and hard to read, and we believe our dealers deserve easy to read and understand statements. Your time is valuable, and spending a lot of time trying to decipher a central station bill is very frustrating. Dispatch Center does not charge on number of signals. Test signals and unsupervised arm-disarm signals are highly encouraged. It is worth noting that if there is a heavy volume of signals going through a third-party service, there may be additional charges from the service provider. When a dealer begins monitoring through Dispatch Center, we establish a standard operating procedure based on information from the dealer. This operating procedure is applied to all dealer accounts, but it can be customized on an account-by-account basis. Dispatch Center requires a contract with the dealer. Our contract is 2 years and non-exclusive. We highly encourage our dealers to use an end-user agreement, and we give our dealers information about the contracts available from the good folks at Kirschenbaum and Kirschenbaum. Any dealer that uses Dispatch Center is required to maintain their state license if applicable. Custom answering is available to our dealers. The service is provided at no additional charge for dealers with a minimum of 100 accounts. Dealers have the option of creating sub-dealers. This allows them to create restricted groups of accounts for the purpose of accessing accounts, generating reports, providing secondary operating procedure, and updating end-user data. While this option isn't used by all our dealers, it is a nice option for applications such as a campus with a security director that wants central station access. I'll keep it nice and short. I thank everybody for their time. On behalf of Dispatch Center, I want to give a special thanks to the good folks over at Kirschenbaum and Kirschenbaum and the Alarm Exchange for giving us this opportunity. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks. First of all, that was a great presentation, concise, and you hit just about every issue that I think is important. I want to ask a couple of simple ones. One, do you provide activity reports to your dealers?
Yes, absolutely.
Those are daily activity reports?
It can be custom tailored. We will create what we call work orders for trouble signals and such, and those are provided obviously daily. And then we can customize the report for a weekly activity report, pretty easy for folks. One of the things that I hear from dealers is about getting too many emails, about getting too many reports. And so we try to work with the dealers in order to make sure that the reports they get are going to be looked at, because otherwise they just end up in somebody's inbox and they don't get checked. So we try to isolate out those that are different, as far as like a service request or a trouble signal supervisories versus just routine traffic. And you can always access the traffic by just logging into the SIMS account.
Since I'm not technical, and so maybe everyone else on this webinar knows the answer to this, but can you just tell me what border gate protocol IP and IP direct is, what that means and what the
Right.
difference is?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, as we have transitioned away from having accounts call in, and of course, there's still plenty of accounts using cellular service or third-party service providers, but there's more and more accounts that get directly programmed into us with an IP address. Those are set when the account is programmed, and depending upon the service used, if the end user changed their internet service provider, that IP address would change upon any change of the ISP. But if it's, say, a residence, that IP address could change on a daily basis. And so a service such as Keep Your IP helps keep those addresses together. And then internally, we use the border gate protocol to guard against an IP address switching and us not knowing about it and having something go offline. It's just the best way I can explain it to folks is, if we really need to get into details on how it works, I get my guy Britt Hefty at the office, who's my IT guy, to get involved, and he goes through the whole nuts and bolts of it. But it's to guard against IP addresses shifting on us and us not knowing about it.
In the asset purchase deals that I do, the transactions that I do, I started, well, historically, we always included phone lines, because they generally get sold along with the alarm accounts, especially when all the accounts are being sold. And I started to put in not just the phone line, but IP addresses. And that's just the only way I described it. Is that something that even makes any sense in these, from a technical standpoint? Or can a seller of alarm accounts, does he own or have IP addresses assigned to him that he can assign to a potential buyer? Or does it even work?
Yes. Now, the majority of them still are being done through a third-party service. Let's pick on AlarmNet, for example. So a dealer, if they're programming an IP into us and it's going through AlarmNet controls that. And if they needed to switch that, they switch it through AlarmNet. Okay. If there is a panel being put online, and on this time I'll pick on, say, Potter fire alarms have the ability to go IP direct into us, and they're not the only ones. I'm not trying to promote any one particular brand.
Right.
But you can IP program directly into us. Now, if the end user is providing a static IP address, that's one thing. But otherwise, it's programmed into that panel, and then a service such as Keep Your IP would allow them, like a swing line on a phone, would allow them to swing those IP addresses to another central station if they needed to.
Okay. Here's some questions that came in. Do you require your dealers to have both general liability and E&O insurance? I'm going to answer that for you. You can't. E&O insurance is part of a general liability policy. I don't believe you're going to get E&O coverage without the general liability policy. So the general liability policy is going to cover your company for injuries that occur on company premises, whereas the E&O coverage, well, it also on subscriber premises if you cause damage, but the E&O coverage is going to step in when you have losses associated with your work product or your work services. So it's the E&O coverage is, as far as I know, always a rider or an extra endorsement to the general liability policy. But if you have a different answer, you're welcome to answer.
No, that pretty much nails it right there. Now,
okay.
For the majority of our clients, obviously that are in Texas, the state of Texas actually requires alarm dealers to carry a minimum level of insurance as well.
Right.
So that's not the time. That question doesn't necessarily bubble up to me very often, but I appreciate somebody asking that.
Well, first of all, every dealer out there and every central station should be carrying E&O insurance. Otherwise, yes. when a customer or subscriber makes a claim that they've had a burglary loss, they've had a fire loss, or any other loss that alarm was designed to detect, you're not going to have coverage because a general liability policy will not cover that kind of a claim. And I want to comment on something that Kelly mentioned. He says, Kelly Dispatch requires that all of its dealers name Dispatch Center as a certificate holder, but they recommend that you also add the central station as an additional insured. I insist that you name the central station as an additional insured. Why? Because the dealer agreement that every central station has requires a dealer to indemnify the central station. If you're indemnifying the central station, you have to back that indemnity up with E&O coverage, or you're going to be holding the bag when a claim comes in. So name them as an additional insured. A certificate holder, all that means is that you're providing proof to the central station that you have insurance, and also that your insurance company agrees to notify the central station as a certificate holder if coverage is going to be terminated or not renewed. So a certificate holder is not enough. Additional insured is what you require, what you need. Do you have two locations? If so, are they both staffed equally with operators? I don't know. You have only one location, right?
Right. We have the one location, but our disaster recovery plan is actually handled through our automation platform, SIMS, which has a fully functioning central station in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And,
is that how you, that's how you comply with UL's requirement for redundancy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So in the event of a full disaster to our location, all accounts, account information, everything can be transferred over to them. Now, SIMS doesn't operate as a central station on a full-time basis. They have it there just for disaster purposes.
It's a temporary backup system, right?
Yes.
Do you have AES receivers? That's the private radio system.
We can set up for AES, and we have. Now, we don't own an AES network. So what we do is we want the dealer to have their own AES network set up. But yes, we do have the ability to take care of AES accounts as long as the dealer owns their network.
Well, for you to, when you're asked, do you have AES receivers, wouldn't that mean that there needs to be customers with alarms, with radios within a certain territory, so that the radio signals would be coming directly into your central station?
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but does AES radio won't work throughout the entire United States without repeater stations, correct?
Correct.
There's a limited range.
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
So a central station doesn't need its own receivers because the alarm dealer has the receivers, for one thing, and they transmit signals via internet, I guess, to the central station anyway, don't they?
That is correct. So once the AES network is created, then it can be pointed at whoever owns that network.
Right.
So in a case where we have a dealer who has a wide variety of AES radios down in far South Texas, he owns that network, and then he points it into us.
Okay. Next question. Do you have text notification with ability to cancel dispatch signals to reduce false alarms? Well, text notifications could be a lot more than just false alarms, but that's the SMS. Right. That's the SMS texting, right?
Correct. Now we do have SMS messaging for notification purposes. Where we are at right now, we're still in development with our automation provider as far as being able to cancel alarms by text. So that's not there yet.
Who's your central station software?
SIMS.
SIM?
Yes.
So they're coming up with this SMS messaging system.
Right. It's a development and process in order to be able to cancel via text. But we do notification we've been doing for quite some time.
Okay. The costs for such service.
Our cost at the highest start at $4.95 per account and go down.
Does Dispatch Center have a dealer portal? And what can the
Yes.
dealers do through the portal?
The dealer portal is accessed directly into the Sims web for a dealer to be able to pull those accounts up to edit or put on test or generate reports. It's actually done through the dispatchcenter.net website, and then you'll see a tab for dealer access.
Okay. Well, here's a comment. Some from a broker, I think. Some general liability policies do not have E&O. Yes, that's right. You have a general almost every business has a general liability policy. It's usually required. It's almost always required by the landlord. That covers injury on the tenant's premises. That will not cover loss by your customers off your premises. So that's why I said that the general, you all have a general liability policy, but you may not have E&O endorsement. We have seen only GL. Everyone should have both. We have seen some dealers without professional. Well, there shouldn't have dealers without E&O coverage. This isn't an insurance webinar though. Okay, everyone should have it, some don't. They agree with me. GL and E&O for professionals are different policies. That's not correct, young man. The GL policy generally has an add-on for the E&O coverage. It's usually an endorsement. I don't even know whether you can get E&O coverage separate and apart from a general liability policy. I don't know if they're written that way. And someone agrees that Kelly is crazy not to have his dealers list him as an additional insured. Great point. So maybe it's Kelly that learned something on this webinar. We'll have to see. Do you also monitor elevator accounts?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do technicians need to call into the central station to place accounts on test, or is there another way to place accounts on test?
The mobile app is an extremely powerful technician tool. I have personally used it to help dealers out. I have access, through my phone for it into Dispatch Center. You can place it on test when you're talking to the customer on the phone. If they're having trouble, you can review signals, you can review immediate activity, you can generate reports. It will even provide you a map to the customer's location if need be. So yes, you can certainly place it on test through the app and take it off a test through the app.
So if a dealer joins the Dispatch Center family of dealers, what can they expect in terms of updates, communications, general information and assistance? Do you do any of that, or is it just a bill you send at the end of the month?
Right, that's a good question. Stacy in our office actually does generate a newsletter that goes out to the dealers. And with the newsletter, we focus on any sort of updates that may be happening at the station, but we also try to provide updates from third-party service providers. If there's news coming from, say, Uplink, then we'll have a spot on our newsletter about that. And if there's something that needs to get sent out rather quickly, a lot of times we'll do a special newsletter out. And so typically it's via email when we do that sort of thing. Although I do have quite a few of my clients that I talk with on a pretty regular basis. I don't necessarily get to talk to every single one of them every month, but we do reach out through the newsletter to let people know of any updates.
You have any meetings or luncheons or trips and bingo games?
Right.
What do you got?
All the above, as far as I'm concerned. When we get back to some sort of normalcy, and I got to tell you, this has been the longest 2 weeks I've ever experienced in my life, as far as our shutdown here in Texas. But yes, I myself typically travel out for all the Alarm Association meetings. We try to stay heavily involved with that. We tend to focus more on one-on-one as far as any sort of entertainment that happens. But yes, we certainly like to get out. We like to see dealers face to face. And a lot of times, as far as for our great state of Texas, it's typically because of the alarm associations between Texas and say Louisiana mostly. But yes, we're definitely open to meeting face to face. We actually prefer that.
Well, I'm available to entertain your troops if you want to set up a webinar session for them. We'll be more than happy to participate. Here's a question. When is the sunset for 3G for Verizon and AT&T?
I got to go back in my notes in my head from the last time I talked to my Firelight rep. But see, the sunset, I want to say where the final date, and it may be, and I may be way off base on this, but it may be September 2021. But that doesn't mean that they're all going to work up until that point. The sunset for 3G is happening in stages. So there are areas where 3G is not working at all now. And some of the providers out there, actually right now, if you have a 3G cell unit, if you actually take that cell unit down in order to say service the system, it won't go back up online. That's caught a lot of folks.
Steve Hayes offered some advice that sunset already started in areas.
Yeah.
But
so it's happening in stages. For some reason, September 21 is stuck in my head, but I could be wrong on that. And I could check with my Firelight rep. He tends to stay up on top of that, per se. But it depends across the country on where it's happening and where the upgrades have occurred.
Okay. This must be a doctor that's asking this. How are you keeping an outbreak of COVID prevented within your central station? You're
very good.
You're doing it by staying home. I could see that, but go ahead.
Right. Well, we take every precaution that we can. We have moved operators, workstations away from each other. We provide all kinds of PPE, the hand sanitation supplies. Obviously, we encourage the use of the mask. The state of Texas right now is actually under a mask mandate from Governor Abbott. So everybody, the other thing is a lot of it is use common sense, right? If you're not feeling well, we find somebody else to fill in. It's easy as that part goes too. But we've been very fortunate at our central station to not have any sort of breakout of COVID.
Okay, good. Are you able to export customer contact information from mailing lists? For example, notification of price increases, equipment loaner programs, etc. I've actually never heard that. A central station being asked to communicate with all monitored accounts? I've never actually heard that. There's a bunch of central stations on here. Any of you actually, have you ever done that? Communicated to all customers that you're monitoring? I would think not. As a matter of fact, most dealers don't want central stations communicating with customers unless there's an alarm signal that needs attention. But
right, that's a new one.
Yeah,
that's a new one to me. I'm not used to. We're not in that type to try to have to contact the end users unless we get into a situation where, say, a dealer just goes out of business and disappears. That becomes a different story, right? And that's typically done through certified mail and such.
Well, here's a central station that answered, that said that they do have a list and they would provide it only to the dealer so that the dealer could use that list. presumably dealers have their own lists, but so the central station's keeping it. I suppose that's needed only when a central station is or has response procedures that would include email addresses where they're emailing customers. I don't know that not every central station would be communicating with a customer by email and wouldn't need a customer's email address. And if they don't have the SMS messaging, they don't even need the cell phone. Well, they need the phone numbers only so they can make the calls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
anyway,
only thing, if the central station is in the business of, say, buying accounts and taking those accounts on, or possibly the central station is in the business of billing those accounts, then I could see that popping up more. But for us, the typical communication to end users is notifying on system activity.
all right. So as they say at the auctions, going once, almost twice. I need some more questions, or we're going to let Kelly get back to breakfast. I guess it's 2 hours earlier than Ryan.
Just
one. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, I want to thank Kelly for really concise and informative presentation. As we've come to expect, all of these presentations so far have been extremely professional and educating and entertaining as well. So I want to thank everybody for attending, and I'm going to close out this webinar at this point, and we're going to see you, I think, tomorrow. There's another one. And Kelly, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for
you as well.
participating.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye, everybody.